We're dealing with a lot of methamphetamine.
How would you describe your life?
Chaos. Yeah, my head felt like it was getting cooked, and he's just full of rage and full of, you're on fire. Just go!
Once they get to that rawness core of who they are and what's happened, then you start to install health and well-being.
Tēnā rā koutou katoa, nau mai huri mai ki, ka huri te tai.
Where we look at the effects of methamphetamine on the farm.
Watching services come through, I wish that I had that.
This is the first time I've actually been able to have control of my life.
Well, I need to do something. I can't just let my nephews and nieces suffer, you know.
And our guests are Huata and Tania Noa from Otautahi. Kia ora koroa. Kia ora, Nix.
Kia ora.
Yeah, really neat to have you guys here. You guys are bringing a dramatic spin into the space of addiction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that, because...
Yeah, what does that look like?
Yeah, and our people learn from looking, eh?
Yes, they do.
Don't give me a pamphlet. Please don't give me a pamphlet.
Don't have one, sorry.
Yeah.
Or a presentation.
Yeah.
I guess part of the reason that we kind of do it this style is because, you know, our people are either audio, visual or kinesthetic. And so what we found, and it worked for us when we went through our own recoveries, is that they did in treatment what they call psychodrama. And they take a piece of your story and they play it out on the stage. And I guess the idea of that is to help penetrate the core space, the core place within self that opens you to being vulnerable and start to connect into that. So for many years now, Huata and I, we've been part of a rōpū, Te Ahi Wairua ki Kaikoura, and we developed that further and created tūwhakaha, and it's about the oro tapu. And so we do a lot of kind of doing the story in a very dramatic manner, and the idea is to create a cathartic experience where you raise the audience and then you crash them, so that they come into a very emotional state.
Does it have to purely be a visual experience, or could it be an audio?
We talk to it as well. So the audio is the karanga, kapahaka, kind of waiata, and all of the things that we might incorporate into that moment so that the sound resonates. So you're getting them on all level, visual, audio, kinesthetic. You hit all levels.
Because I'm wondering, because we weren't in there, we missed out.
Yes, you did.
We did
Yes, you did. And I watched just walking out the door and I went, oh.
I wonder if we could get a replay.
Oh, my video.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
That's what I'm hinting towards, guys.
Yeah.
I think somebody filmed it though.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
You're hinting, but it wasn't that subtle, which is good.
It wasn't received.
It sounds a little, potentially, a little scary. I think it's awesome. But have you found that? Have you found that sort of these people are going,
like triggering?
Yeah.
Like, so this morning that when we were doing our we play, that there was a couple there that actually did break down.
Okay.
And cry, and because it just sort of like re-triggered their own
resonates.
And you hear a lot of breathing. You hear a lot of shuffling in the seat. So there's an uncomfortability that's actually occurring. So if they're not crying and if they're not raging,
emotionally
they are emotionally moving. You know, because
Yeah.
if you look at body language, it's 90% of communication anyway. So you know.
Yeah. And you know that whole thing, I was talking to a guy about te kupu whakarongo, or hakarongo up here, hakarongo, and that's listening with all your senses. It's not just your ears. You know, people will say, ko rongo au te haunga o te kai. I sense the smell of the food. So you guys are using those levers to really get into people's wiring, eh?
Yep.
Yes.
Seriously.
Man, that's cool.
What is the feedback from that?
We haven't quite got... We've got engagement today, eh? But in the past, we've moved whole groups and impacted them to... I guess drop their guards and be really vulnerable, but we do it in a wānanga style, so it's from Friday to Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
And so you accelerate wānanga, but they're also wrapped in all of us. All of us are there. It's not an in-out job. It's you're there with them at the beginning to the end.
Cool.
And so you're cocooning that process because now you've opened them up.
Yeah.
So through the wā that we are part of, our marae, ki Watautahi, all of our runanga, our marae, we're purposeful in the action to make sure that from the Friday to the Sunday, we get it going.
Yeah.
We hit the ground
and
running.
the journey is
And
through
then at
those
the end,
days.
through the wind up of that, when we do the wihinga or poroporaki, so we call it, that they are secure inside themselves. That triggering has now settled. They've gotten a bit of a shift within their own stuff and their own dynamic. And the hope is that they get to reach inside that rawness of themselves, and hopefully the hope is that that will kind of start the healing process. It'll resonate deep. Yeah.
And they can come from a safer space, I think, eh?
Yeah,
I
because
hope.
I guess for us,
This is quite new, by the way. So,
Yeah.
And I'm intrigued by it. And so my question is, how did you guys decide to use this formula to attack the space of addiction? How do you guys, do you come from a dramatic background?
I come from Hollywood actors from way back.
You do?
Yeah.
And I'm an actor.
What are your guys' journeys?
So what was shared earlier is that for me, I'm the product of addiction, violence, crime. So, I was born into that generationally. So I saw a lot of that growing up, and as a result, I'm a product of that. So they drank, I drank. They smoked cigarettes, I smoked cigarettes. They dropped pills, I dropped pills. So there was a real mirroring of what you saw. So from very young, 9 is when I had my first taste of alcohol, and it wasn't the taste because it was foul, but it was the kind of the effect I got. And from that point, something switched in me, and I became thirsty. So by the time I was 12, I was a heat-seeking missile. I was, what I realise now, because we became addiction practitioners, is that I was already destined to be alcoholic.
All right.
Yeah.
The script
Was
the
already
script
set.
was written out.
Yeah.
It's set.
Yeah.
It was set.
And I guess for me too, I come from both sides of my whānau, entrenched in addiction, a lot of abandonment stuff.
Yeah.
So I was always looking for love in all the wrong places type thing.
It's a song.
Yes. So, and that had, and from that I sort of like attached other behaviours, negative behaviours to that, and, a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol. And as been mentioned, I thought I guess a way for coping was that,
Yeah.
the addiction part.
Yeah. One of the things, because I'm a little, not completely, a little naive in this space though, is that drugs and alcohol, like I look at you and I go, wow, look at this beautiful wahine from Southland, the sparkle in her eyes, I want to talk to you. And, that's the picture I get. I look at you and I go, wow, who's this guy? This guy, blah, blah, blah. That means that these drugs and alcohol, they grab anybody, eh? There's no look, there's no...
There's no, I guess addiction doesn't sort of like, it doesn't select if you're going to be rich
Discriminate.
or Māori, Pākehā or Asian or whatever. It's, you've got it.
Yeah.
What helped you guys to get out of your addiction?
I didn't know I had one for a start. I had no clues. So, I was brought up in the port of Littleton. It's a port.
You're tough.
And the piss pours to the streets there. Easy. So as a kid growing up in that environment, everybody did it. So there was no, you shouldn't be doing that, this, the other thing.
Right.
There was no, that's bad. You just did what everybody else did.
It's normal.
It was really normal.
Wow.
Very normal. Yeah. And so it just, took off from there. And I think that, you babysit your neighbour's kids, you hang out with your mates, someone's got a bottle of wine, someone's got a crate of beers, the glass bottles, that ching ching and
The real ones.
the real ones.
Yep.
And it's just everyday lifestyle.
So you're talking about your environment, like, with respect, sis, you really didn't have much of a chance, eh?
Not particularly.
Yeah, yeah,
For me back then, that was happy days.
yeah,
Didn't see it as anything wrong.
yeah,
You know, you just laughed more, laughed harder, took risks, you did a whole lot of things, and it was
Yeah.
great groove, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it wasn't like it was frowned upon, bad. That came later.
yeah.
So what was that defining moment that you thought to yourself, oh my God, maybe this isn't right?
Well, I guess I was a binge user for 25 years,
Wow.
primarily alcohol, but, you know, pills and bits and pieces, salt and pepper throughout that. And there wasn't really a defining moment in that. What was the defining moment? What was the catalyst for me was the relationship stuff. And,
Right.
you know, it's like Huata touched on, I was looking for love in all the wrong places. And I think as I got more unwell, I attracted more unwell. And, you know, violence, domestic violence and just violence was all the time. It's been years of violence, and what I found was, because my dad was violent, was that I had a natural leaning towards being violent myself, learned behaviour, and that I thought that was like your currency. You know, if you're aggressive and violent, people won't mess with you.
Yeah, and you
And
make
I
shit
guess
happen,
as a kid,
eh?
as a kid
Yeah.
being vulnerable, that became my tough shield. That became the way that I used to call it the stinky blowfish stance. It was like my armor came on. Don't take me on.
Yeah,
You know, I'm not big. I'm little, but I had this really
yeah,
aggressive shield, and I believe that I attracted men with more aggressive shields, and it just got worse. And
Yep.
domestic violence got worse with addiction. All of it. To me, it doesn't matter if it's a body or a body, a bottle or a body. It's addiction for me, and so everything got worse, and I got sicker. I got more unwell. Mauri mati.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wairu sick or just sick?
All of it.
Yeah,
Spiritual
yeah,
sick,
yeah.
physically sick,
Yeah,
psychologically sick. The whole thing became quite broken. And you touched on it, love, when you said you thought that, you know, the rock bottom that you hit, there was more. And I used to think the same thing. Oh, is this what this rock bottom is? People talk about, but what I found was there was even another deeper
A
hole.
basement.
Yeah, even
And
through
below the basement.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right.
and so I guess my coping strategies at that time, not knowing it was coping, but the more life got more, felt more ashamed and more guilt ridden because I dragged my kids to hell and back through that. The drink increased, the drugs, the pills increased because I couldn't face the guilt and the shame of being such a effing failure to my whānau, to myself, to my children, to everything. I just had that really, really kind of bleak look at outline of myself and thought, so suicide ideation and self-harming became a thing. So it just got darker and darker.
Man, thank you so much for your courage. I don't like your story. I see the sparkle in your eyes and your beauty, in both of you, but I don't like that you've walked that story. So thank you for telling us that. So, Huata, you guys have walked this walk. So we're all at the table, all the four of us, and all our whānau out there and all the rest of us saying, what can we do in this space? And we bring different things to the table. What are you guys doing?
To bring to the table?
Yeah. I mean, you're presenting through performance and stuff like that. Is that the main thing you do? Because it's pretty awesome.
So I guess for both of us, we've worked in the drug and alcohol sector for the last 13
Yeah.
odd years, and Tan Store was working to some capacity. And in that space, we had to do the training, we had to do to get us, to get that ticket. And then from there, we've worked into residential spaces, corrections, community, rangatahi. And now it was sort of like it got to a time where I love working with the people, but it's sort of like when you start to climb the taumata and you work with management and stuff, it just gets a bit different, and you sort of like see the kōrero changes. you know, they say one thing, but really it's not what we hear down on the street, so to speak.
Ground level.
Ground level, working with the people.
Are you alluding to disconnection from
Oh,
the?
big time.
Wow,
Big time
because that
connection.
really annoys me, eh?
Yeah.
You know, you fellas don't even know the decisions you're making are not appropriate or whatever, and they're ruining lives.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you know, you're right. We've got a whānau we're working with, and it is their lives. It is their sort of like their hope and their dreams and their potential that we are dealing with.
Yeah.
And, you know, if we're and again, well, another thing that pisses me off too is around contract stuff too, you know. It sort of like dictates what you can and what you can't do. So you got to become a bit more creative in your approach.
Yeah,
your
to navigate the parameters of
as
the
long as
contract.
we're ticking.
Yeah. But you guys know, you see, you guys know what needs to be done because you've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
too have been in that space, bro.
Yep. So I think I mentioned 25 years in recovery too. We met actually in the Taha Māori program up in
Right.
Queen Mary.
down in Queen Mary. So when it wasn't pairing off either.
Oh,
It was whanaungatanga.
Ah,
It was one of those tangas.
yeah. Kia ora tanga. Yeah.
My life had become quite unmanageable. As Tan was saying, my drinking and my drugging had sort of like become daily, and I had to have something to feel normal.
Oh, yeah.
And that was, you know, to go to work, to be with my children, to go to the shop, to do anything,
Function.
to function.
Yeah.
And it just didn't, you know, it just sort of like, it ran out after a while, you know. Your body can only take so much until it starts to close down.
What would happen if you didn't have anything?
I got to the stage where my thinking got out of whack, and also I couldn't, my shakes, the DTs with this, you know, I couldn't even sort of like, I was at the shop trying to sign off on my credit card, and I couldn't even sign my name. I was that bad. I was just sort of like, it was just, I had to have something. And I got to methylated spirits, where that was sort of like becoming, because I had lost so many jobs, and meth was quite cheap, and so that was it.
and then onto ethanol.
Methylated
ethanol.
spirits.
Yeah.
What do you do? Drink it.
Drink it. I used to add juice to it, and it just split, and I just thought, okay, and just still drink it.
They used to
and
sift
spew
it through an old felt hat or through a bread, eh?
bread, yeah.
Through
Do
bread.
the espresso as well. In the
I didn't learn that.
Brasso.
I didn't learn that until I came into recovery.
Too late. And it's funny we can laugh about this stuff because
Yeah.
this stuff's tragic, eh, dude?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just listening to you because I get the shakes. And I went to the doctor for the shakes because I drink. But she says, you've just got the shakes, you know. But I always think of that, you know. I think of how I'm looking after my body and stuff like that, eh? Yeah. How big is taha Māori within your process of getting through to our people?
It's pretty much, I'd say 90%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was huge.
Yeah.
It was a big part of our recovery.
Oh, for yourselves and for yourselves.
But
Yeah.
what we would want our whānau to receive
Yeah.
too is that our people being disenfranchised and disconnected,
Yeah.
that we know that was our saving grace. I mean, I came in knowing who I was Māori
Yeah.
because I've got a very staunch Māori matriarchy, my Marekura mum.
All right.
So I didn't not have that, but what happened going through Taha was the strengthening and the empowering of that
Yeah.
as a mana wahine.
All right.
Just, it's like you get to reach inside yourself and find your own potential and your purpose, and you start trudging that one out. And you just put yourself into everything Māori that you can get yourself in. But the recovery movement for Māori in Ōtautahi was quite huge. So there was tons of us coming through the Taha Māori experience or program, and moving together. So that community collective was on the move, and it would surge and dissipate and surge and dissipate. So we were always moving with our own Māori whānau.
Here's a question that I'm thinking to myself, should I ask this question? I'm going to ask it because it's our show and you're our guests. I spent a bit of time in the South Island, and I believe, and I may be wrong, I was once, that it's actually harder to be Māori in some ways in the South Island, right? So if that's a fact, does that create a vacuum as opposed to us from Ngāpuhi or Tūhoi? I can see you. You know where I'm getting at?
I do.
So there's a loneliness and a vacuum because of your location, and you know what I'm asking, eh?
I do.
Do you agree?
I think that there's pockets
Yeah.
where whānau were fortunate that there were individuals that retained
Yeah.
our Māori, culture,
Yeah.
but it wasn't widespread.
Yeah. And I'm talking about people who are culturally lost.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, majorly disenfranchised and
Yeah.
disconnected. I
Yeah.
mean, us from Te Waipounamu, the Great South, were really, I guess, very judged for being pale and non-Māori. So that had an impact on some of our leaders, actually, because they talked about it and wrote books on it.
Yeah.
The judgments from the north kind of
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But I think we've all kind of moved to the place, well, it's colder down in the south than it is in the north. They get more sun than we do.
That's right.
You say all these things.
Yeah, you're like a little kid defending
Yeah.
the youngest kid defending yourself.
Yeah,
eh?
yeah. And so when we moved into the field of working in addictions, because my children are lighter than me, and they had this real whakamā, I guess, sense. And my boy said to me one day, Mum, they call me a colourless Māori. And I said, it's not about colour, son, it's about connection. So
Dead
that
right, too.
becomes our mantra now. It's not about colour.
No.
It's about your whakapapa connection. So that's been the saving grace when we've worked in the field with our whānau,
Good.
is that it's not about that. We get the opposite side of that, where we have Māori who are very dark in complexion, and they go, "Whai, I'm not Māori." And I'm like, how do you figure that, babe? I can't speak that real.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's like, it's not about that,
Yeah,
honey,
I
you know?
agree.
It's about connection.
Yeah, and whakapapa and whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I think too, down in Ōtautahi, there's a big change with Ngāi Tahu because, as you mentioned, there's a lot of buildings and bits and pieces being built around whakapapa throughout the cities and stuff. So there's this real big drive with Ngāi Tahu, and excuse me if there's any Ngāi Tahu that think, what is he talking about? But but there is a huge big change happening at the moment within Ngāi
Positive?
Tahu.
Yes.
Definitely positive.
Oh, yeah.
In the reo, in the pūrākau, in the sort of like having things done visually around the place.
Appropriately, visually,
Yes.
culturally
Culturally,
appropriate. Yeah.
yeah.
And who wins? Everybody wins.
Correct.
Because that's not in our DNA to be like that.
That's right.
We're going to take all of us with you. We got Parker blood or whatever.
That's right.
That's how we go. I saw this beautiful thing just for your whānau. There was this woman, I forget her name, but she was fantastic. And she put up a slide, you may have seen it, and one was a long black, and one was a flat white, and one was a cappuccino, right? All different shades, all coffee.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
So we're all Māori,
Yep.
with those different shades.
Different
eh?
shades of grey.
Yeah, yeah. We're staring down the barrel with addiction and stuff. And it all comes back to that whole thing of what causes it.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing? Or how are we doing? Or what can we do you think? What's your dream? Sorry, there was 5 questions.
Yeah, it was. I was just trying to pick
I
the
think
easiest
that-
one.
Just when we finished off their presentation in there's this, I do a lot of really deep research. I question. I go to some places, man, it's great travel. But I arrived at soul sickness. I arrived at the breach of tapu, or the piercing of the psyche. And I believe that for Māori particular, when the colonisers arrived here, they knew what that would do, as in breaking a people. Because if you pierce that, if you breach the tapu and you pierce the psyche, you can in some way assimilate and control your numbers.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I think that when I put that to me as that little girl, the inner child of me, I think, you know, because I was born into being molested as a child, raped as an adult. There was a whole lot of things, and I think that those beaten up, you know, my left-hand side is bionic, it's all been rebuilt, that those hits in, that punching into who I was as this little human being, it created muscle memory and cellular memory. And so, but it went right to the soul of me.
Yeah.
And so I believe, and that's what the big question was with the team in there was, do you guys think about like the soul sickness, the mauri mate of our whānau?
Yeah.
And a lot of them were,
Yeah.
there is a soul sickness. There is a way in which they've penetrated us that's shifted
Wow.
our cultural depth.
I'm getting you.
Yeah.
And I use the term a poverty of spirit, but I think what you're saying is deeper
Yes.
than yeah. It's all relevant.
Yes. It's the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
It's just how you say it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like being through it personally and lived experience, going through treatment and seeing the revival of our people, not just me, but the revival of the 50 or so people going through the treatment at the same time and doing it collectively together as whānau.
Yep.
They become your kaupapa whānau
Yeah.
if they're not your
Yeah.
whakapapa whānau, which we all are. But it's kind of like you don't just feel it in yourself, you see it on your peeps. And then you take that kind of energy that you've been exposed to and you become that. There's a desire, because I'm a taua. I have mokopuna.
Yeah.
And I was 13 years clean, because I'm coming up 25 years as well, where I sat in an AA meeting one night and this taua came in and she sat there and she said, you know, I wasn't sober for my tamariki, but I'm going to be a sober taua for my mokopuna. And she gave me my purpose.
Right.
That was the desire. That became the driver. And so I've been really fortunate to be 13 years clean and my first moko's born. They won't see what I saw.
Wow.
Yeah.
They will not be
And
exposed
they
to that.
won't see what you were.
No. No, they won't.
Yeah.
Fortunate for them. But
Yeah.
yeah. So I think it's what you get given is what you give away.
Yeah.
And if you're really passionate about it, you know, because there's a question that one of my cousins asks groups, will my mokopuna be safe in your hands? And that's the mantra I carry when I ask, will my baby be safe with you if you're running a treatment facility? Touch wood, my baby never has to be there.
Yeah.
But if they do, will I know they will be the safest, that you will nurture and love my baby like she's
I
your
would.
own.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's kind of that, you know, because you become the
Can't
protector.
wait.
When you've had that life yourself,
Yeah.
you become very much the protector of your uri.
Yeah.
That's it. Don't you mess with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I just taua grandmother, eh?
Aye.
Yeah. Because some of those fellas from whangapia may not know what that means. Of course they do. They're intelligent. Yeah. Hey, the question I want to ask you both is, do you think one sentence or one like that woman said, that Wakine said, I'm doing this for my moko, can it have that impact, or was a whole lot of things for you guys? So can something just go boom? Because I hope it can, because if we keep talking about it, somebody's going to hear something and go boom.
I think there's a selection of things because it's up to the individual, because you know, whatever is the spark for them is going to be it's going to hit them in that right spot.
And also whether they're at that place
Exactly.
to inhale that spark, because if they're not at that place, that's going to go right over their head.
Yeah.
But if their spirit, mind is
Environment, right people, right
is
time.
physically tired of what that looks like, then they may be ready to accept that.
Yeah. So I think, like, they talk about, well, the spiritual pedals. So, you know, you get that to the spirit, to the spirit. So it can be a whole lot of things, But there's one point now and then, and it's the swinger. And so for me, getting to that stage where that fire came in and said what she said about being sober for her moko, there was a whole lot of pillars and posts along the way that were relevant to that point. And then when she said that, because up until that point, I didn't know if I was going to make it in recovery, you know. So it was kind of like, I still don't know if I want to be here even. So there was these these
Markers.
moments, markers, where that penetrated the very soul of me. You know, it got that place where tapu was breached, because my tapu was breached, but my babies won't be, not if I'm breathing, sort of thing. So that's that, I guess that's that fight in me, you know, the red, to be, some might call it being overprotective, but I don't think that it's that. I think it's that preservation of whakapapa.
And I don't think, with respect, Tons, you can be in red brain all the time, because a lot of the decisions that you're making, the passion's there, the force is there, but the brain's green.
Like,
You know, it's clear.
kia ora.
It's
Thank
clear.
You. Thank you.
Yeah. I think it's really.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah. What a power couple you two are. Yeah. So where to from here?
So we don't
Keep being
necessarily...
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yep, I've stepped away from the AOD field and more so stepped into a cultural advisory role as well.
Yeah.
For, am I able to say their name?
Yeah.
Presbyterian Support.
Oh, beautiful.
Upper South, and so because of we've gone co-governance, co-leadership, and we've got it sort of like 50-50 board. We've got a Māori general manager and a Pākehā one as well. So my role was pretty much just making sure, enforcing, I guess, that cultural awareness throughout the whole organisation, throughout Upper South.
Nice.
Love it. Also get into romi and miri space as well. Love that too. Another good healing modality.
I'm really interested in, because this faith or tahahahi keeps popping up. And if you're looking at your ammunition, that's the wrong word, pure, whatever, ammunition to fight this ngārara, this, you know, faith is in there, taha Māori at the top, all those things. I work with a lot of Christian people. I'm a Catholic boy from Pakundu. I wouldn't call myself a Christian. But boy, there's so much grace and so much strength and power in having that in your arsenal as well. Your comments on that?
Well, we bust out karakia, taku and kaupari every day. So we're on constant broadband to iwa. So we're very much draw down.
You said iwa, not pio.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to.
we draw on that. So we've really kind of dedicated ourselves to that, you know, our kind of spiritual Māori world connections. And so I guess for me, like I can visually see Atua at play through the elements and the environment. So there's a lot of like line of sight that's not commonly seen by many, but when you're still enough and clean enough, you get a sense of everything around you. So it's kind of like I can see papa, I can see rangi, I can see the interaction, I can see
the relationship.
And so because of that, and I believe that when going through taha, because karakia was always part of the process, that it just reinforced my destiny to that, to enhance that even further. So I have a really strong and staunch belief system in that. And so we sort of activate in those energies all the time. That's a constant thing.
But if that's who you are, that's what you're passing on to the people.
Yes.
You can't say, well, I'm doing this, you can't have it. And that's
right.
got to be a real benefit for our whānau who are struggling, eh?
Yeah. I think there's one thing that's has been said in recovery is actually to keep what I've got, I need to give it away. So, and also that we are sort of like in the Ratana.
Well, we've
faith,
started recently.
we're starting to.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's funny you say, well, can you say that again? Able to give...
To keep what I've got, I need to give it away.
That's weird. I heard this thing the other day. Wisdom isn't wisdom unless you share it.
That's right.
That's the same sort of thing, eh?
Yeah.
You got another one? No, I'm just...
Yeah, I've got one more.
Yep, here we
It's
go.
from Pururi
Here we go.
Huata, who was one of our trainers because he was awesome, but he talked about, while they were training us, because we were trained biculturally with clinical and cultural kind of methods, was intuition favours a well-stocked mind. So we've told everybody in there, get out there and get your mind stocked, because that's going to be quite pivotal to how you engage, because you'll read the land, you'll read the people, you'll read everything
Yeah.
intuitively who we truly are as Māori when you've loaded up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
that's what
another
our...
one.
Sorry, please.
Knowledge without application are just words.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. This is like a game of doubles.
Yeah.
Table
Yes,
tennis.
yes.
But
Who's
the
next?
beneficiaries are you'll serve.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. I really love that. I really love meeting you guys. We both do. It's I'm really getting a sense of this whole addiction thing. You better watch out. Because we're muscling up together as people, eh?
Yeah. So we'll find a way.
Yeah. You know, the whakatauki for here where you are and for your whakapapa, bro, is ngāpuhi kōhaurau, which means ngāpuhi of 100, 1,000 holes. So if you cover one up, we're going to pop up over here. And I think we can share it with all of our wider whānau. E mihi ana kia korua. Kia tātou hoki e noho ana e mahi kahana ki te hakapai tō tātou whānau. Anō reira, tēnā korua mō tō koutou aroha, tō koutou mōhio, ngā mihi nui. Yeah, this is beautiful. I love what we do, eh?
Yeah.
Because you're filling up our emotional tank and there's not a lot of cells left.
They can regenerate.
Yeah. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora.
Nā mihi korua.